And we get it rolling on the Krueg Show Saturday morning. Hope everybody's having a great day. Mid-November, Thanksgiving just around the corner. Niners Bucs go tomorrow at Levi's. We're going to talk all about it next. The coach is in the house on the Pig and a Pickle Krueg Show. Check out Pig and a Pickle.
Good, baby.
2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle. Go get the brisket. Go get the brisket chili. Say hi to Damon. Say hi to Mary. Tell him the Krueg sent you. We're also brought to you by New York Style Italian Sausage. I was just at their party Friday night, eating the sausage bread, talking, drinking wine, breaking bread, breaking sausage. Anyway, we were having a great old time Friday night. A lot of drinking was had down at the New York Style Italian Sausage plant factory with a family-only type celebration. A lot of fun down there. And then thanks to them and, of course, Marin Autoglass, marinautoglass.com, 415-883-3030. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy and Mojo Fantasy. Check that link in the description. Click the promo code or type in the promo code Krueg, Krueg, and they will match you up to your first $100. And everybody who does it on the Mojo side automatically is entered into a drawing to win a Purdy or a Bosa jersey, which we're going to give away in the postgame show on Thanksgiving night. All right, Coach, good to see you, man. How's your Saturday going?
Pretty good, man. A little eventful. Ran it through some car stuff, but we're here to go, man. How you been, man? Ready for this Tampa week, baby. How you been, Larry?
Yeah, I've been great. I finally shook the cold that had been rattling my cage for about, 3 weeks. I mean, you saw me sniffling through all these shows, and I'm sitting here. It's just an awful feeling when you have that cold and flu symptoms. So yeah, I'm battling through. Now I'm healthy. I'm turning the corner, and I'm getting ready for a big turkey day. We're going to be up at the in-laws' place, and then we'll be doing the post-game show after Niners Hawks from their place. I'm looking forward to that, but I'm also looking forward to right now so we can talk a little bit about the Niners and the Bucs. I titled this Bucs 49er Buck preview. Paint the picture, Coach, on how Tampa comes to Levi's and gets a win tomorrow.
Well, I would say right now, the biggest thing that they have going for them is their aerial attack. Albeit Baker Mayfield is playing solid football. I understand that may sound a little crazy coming in, but if they have a chance to win, it is with their receiving core, with Godwin, Mike Evans. They're coming in with big receivers that can all get their own routes. They can all run the full route tree. I feel like this is going to be a game against our secondary. Last week, I made a lot of noise about nothing being changed on our defense. And the reason why I pushed that nothing was changed on our team is because I was just so pleased with the effort. There's a difference in having the coaches be able to believe in what you're doing, but I just saw a completely different football team. And with that, there are some things that we did change. So the 49ers disguised coverage like no other last week. And I feel as though that this is going to be the game where when we see the Bucs, we're going to have to be a little bit more vanilla because we're dealing with a lot more talented guys who don't need to be schemed open. They can get open on their own. And if the Bucs are going to win, it's going to be through the air. I don't trust their run game. Offensive line wise, they have Christian Wirfs. That's going to be Wirfs versus Bosa. That's going to be, popcorn ready. We're going to be able to see that. I really don't trust what they have in the running game. But if you had to say what they do well, what they really tip their hat to is that it's going to be their passing game. So it's going to be Niners secondary versus Tampa's receiving core.
Yeah, Godwin and Evans are so different this week than last week. Last week you had Ridley and Christian Kirk, and they're really speedy guys that can run by you and make the big play. Evans and Godwin also can make the big play, but you can be all over them and they still make those plays. I mean, they have elite ball skills. These guys can really catch. So you got to I mean, you got to be really hugged up tight on the coverage, and you can't give them any room, and you just got to expect that, it's the pros. I mean, you're going to have real tight coverage, and they're going to make a catch anyway, and they're going to move the chains. Godwin, especially, is crafty inside. He runs a lot of those crossers, and he's just a hard guy to cover on those crossers. Mayfield gets the ball out fast. He's a very competitive guy. He's been taking care of the football and quietly having kind of a nice year. So Evans and Godwin, I think, are the key. The other thing I noticed when I watched their film against Tennessee is, they're using Rashad White on the screens, and the Niners are not defending the screen pass well. So I would imagine that, you're going to see 3-4 screen passes to Rashad White in this game, and how the Niners defend that and how well they tackle on those plays may determine a lot in this game. The other part of the Tampa outfit that I think is really top notch is their defensive line. I mean, last year when the Niners played them, they didn't have Winfield on the back end, but they also didn't have Vita Vea for most of that game.
Right.
They lined him up at defensive end last week, and he got a sack against Tennessee. He really moves incredible. And then you got Kalijah Cansey, who's, I think, one of the best college defensive linemen I've seen in the last decade.
Fast.
Really fast at 280, and the guy who can play inside and outside and stunt. And I mean, he's just, he's a force. And then there's Logan Wilson from Houston, who is a high pick. Then they've got Shaq Barrett, who's a great speed rusher. And then you got two really, really fast linebackers who they also will send through the gaps or off the edges, and Devin White and Levante David. I just think that up front, I mean, this is not a defense that you should take lightly, because they got 13 hits last week on Will Levis. 13 hits on the quarterback. If Brock Purdy takes 13 hits, he may not finish the game.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and yeah. All right, for their defense, I really am impressed with Shoyinka, their rookie that they picked up on in the first round. I really like the way. Go ahead.
Joe
Yeah,
Tryon, Shorinka,
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah,
Former
yeah.
Husky.
Yes, former Husky. He's a good prospect. Okay. I see what they're doing on defense. Vita Vea and Cansey are going to be an issue interior wise. That's why I'm really anxious to see what we do with John Feliciano inserted into the lineup. We have to see what he's going to do against Kalijah Cansey. He's a little bit faster, a lot more twitchier, like to your comments before. He gets in and out. He gets in and out of his gaps very quickly. Has strong hands. Really, this, we put so much pressure on the pass rushers from the outside, but I feel like this is a game where Brock is going to have a little bit of an issue stepping up in the pocket in this game. If they're going to give us pressure defensively, I feel as though that interior pressure is where they're most likely going to be able to find that success, or at least try to start. So, defensively now, albeit Levante White, David and White, their linebacking core, the patina's wearing off a little bit. I understand that they're going a little bit off name recognition for what they actually produce nowadays, right? Respectively, I don't necessarily see them being as good in the pass game. I don't think that they're going to be able to do anything against our passing attack. So really, for what they give us up front, they're talented in the middle. Defensively, I really don't see that much pop from their pass rushing core. And honestly, their linebacking core, Larry, I think that they're like I said, I think they're playing off name recognition. I watched the last couple of games, and they leave a lot to be desired in pass defense. I mean, especially
they're
zone.
banged up on the corner right now, so like they're really hurt on the corner. I was looking at their guy, Carlton Davis, for example, didn't play last week, and then Ryan Neal, the former Seahawk, he's banged up this week. And they've been really banged up. Jamel Dean was out with an injury. Now he's back. So they're a little banged up on the back end. And they don't have great corner depth. So you're going to see Zion McCollum. You're going to see Christian Isian at nickelback. So they're a little dinged up on the back end. I kind of agree with you on Devin White and Levante David. I mean, they're incredible moving athletes, and they're really smart players at this point. They're not quite. White's a free agent at the end of the year. He's going to get the bag for sure, but
Yeah,
they're not.
they're not what we got.
They're not the players they were when this team won the Super Bowl a few
No,
years ago. But
no.
their front with Cansey and Barrett and Vita Vea and Logan Hall and Greg Gaines and Yaya Diaby, their front is going to be a tough front to deal with, and I'm eager to see how the Niners O line, which Trent's not 100%. McKivitz practiced all week. He's a tough guy. I'll say that. Ankle and knee, but
Man,
I don't know what his status is going to be for this game. And then Feliciano is going to wind up playing left guard, and Burford's at right guard. And how well is Burford going to play? And it's like the Niners have some real questions on that offensive line right now.
yeah. Well, albeit I feel like they know they have issues on the offensive line, and a little bit of an uptick with John. I got to tip my hat to you, Larry. I think that you're the first person who I heard mention this, but I think it's high time for us to see where we can insert John Feliciano on a permanent role in the offensive line. I think it's time. And with how they played versus the Jags, like, listen, man, the reason why I didn't necessarily go granular into my synopsis of what the team did versus, disguising coverages, Fred Warner being flexed out and guarding tight ends, Eric Armstead being flexed out in pass coverage, dropping in fire zones. I saw a lot of different things that we've never done before. And it confused Trevor Lawrence a lot. But for all of the coaching adjustments that we've made, they believed in what they were doing, right? And for me, that's what I see as far as the effort component with how these guys are going to play against us. I really just don't think that Tampa has anything to actually play to really expose what we do on the offensive line. I mean, these guys can play hard. They John Feliciano, if we took John, I know you were talking about possibly putting him at center. Larry, I put him at right guard. I will put John Feliciano at right guard, man.
Well, he's got more experience playing guard than center. That's for sure. I asked him about it last week, and he's like, "Yeah, I know I'm built like a center, but I have more experience playing guard. He can play either left guard or right guard. Obviously, when they get Banks back, supposedly Kyle said that Banks could be back on Thanksgiving. We'll see. It's a short week, but they're thinking he might be back for Seattle. Yeah, I mean, Feliciano's got to start. I mean, he's got to be out there. I'd put him in over Brendel because I just think that Brendel against the bigger nose guards and look at the bigger D tackles is a liability. You got Chris Jones, you got Jalen Carter, you got Fletcher Cox, you got some big boys up front on be standing between you and the Super Bowl. So I'd probably lean towards Feliciano at center, but I'm a Burford fan and I'd like to stick with Burford a little bit more, but there's no doubt that you can't have the kind of penalties that Spencer's had week after week and stay in there. They have to avoid those penalties. A big part of the Niners' struggles on offense, nobody really wants to admit it because it's not really sexy, but the big part of their struggles have been that they've had too many penalties on first and second down. And they're putting themselves into some third and not so manageable third downs against in those 3 games that they lost. So a lot of that looks like, oh my God, what's going on? But in reality, it's either the offensive line not opening run lanes or it's the offensive line actually making mistakes and having penalties. And now you're looking at 2nd and 15 or 2nd and 10, 2nd and 20. I mean, it's like it's hard to get a first down when you're at 2nd and 20. So,
but also, Larry, traditionally looking at our offensive line, I'm on board with you, right? If we were a gap scheme team, if we were a duo team where we just ran multiple run schemes and we had 5 first to second round picks across our offensive line, and we were woefully, underperforming, I'd give it to you. Like, yeah, man, there's nothing we could do about it. But our offensive line has been struggling for years. It's almost engineered into the system. Like, I'm tired of us. You know what I mean? Like, it's like we know that they have to draft the guys, and they've tried to no avail. They haven't gotten it done necessarily. But the truth of the matter is that they value really one position on the offensive line, which is left tackle, and everything else they engineer around. So if we're staying inside the vacuum of the season, right? Not, I'm much willing. I'm all on board to talk about moving players around and getting rid of guys in April, right? But in November, nobody's walking through that door. So really, when we do bad on offensive line versus when we perform well, I feel like the common denominator is that the contributors of our offense are doing their part as well to help the offensive line, right? So that's Jawan Jennings. That's Kyle Juszczyk. That's Brandon Ayuk. That's Deebo Samuel, right? An extension of our run game is Deebo Samuel, where when we want to be able to run part of our offense, our offensive line, we can't run plays in the run game where the defense just knows what we're running. We're just not that type of offensive line, man. We're not there. So we've got to keep defenses honest with Deebo. We got to keep defenses honest with end arounds and now routes and screens, because we have to be able to keep the gaps clear and the box uncongested when we want to utilize our offensive line. So that's how I kind of see us getting through the season. Like, we're not going to just straight up lean on them, right? That's not, I almost look at the offensive line as a whole, not individually, but as a whole. I almost look at the offensive line in the same way we look at Brock, where Brock is here to do his job. Brock is here to help the team. But at the same time, while Brock is still a pro and it is 100% up to him to be an asset to the team, we can't put everything on him, because we understand that there's limitations there, with not just with skill set, but with experience, with reps. So we can't put Brock in all of those situations and expect him to perform. I feel the same way about our offensive line with the right side. Hey, I'm tired of talking about, the water being wet. Like, yes, we know they're not good. Yes, we know they're not going to get better probably in the middle of the season enough for us to be okay with them. So what do we have to do to engineer around that? We've got to have George Kittle in. Deebo Samuel not being in is a problem for our offensive line, because we can't keep the box uncongested. We can't use the edges of the field without having Deebo Samuel on end arounds. Christian McCaffrey can't be used in gap scheme and duo, because we're getting teed off in the A gaps, because we know we're vulnerable there. So it's almost, I just want to start approaching it from a standpoint of, we know what we have, so let's start just engineering around it, because that's what the Niners are doing. If we see our offensive line just getting teed off on, I almost look at that as like a coaching flaw, because they're not good enough to pull off some of that stuff.
The guy that I think is kind of interesting on that O line is Jalen Moore, from the standpoint of, they don't have. I asked Forster this week. I'm like, McKivitz has practiced all week, so it looks like he's going to go. But if he doesn't go, who's your right tackle? And I thought they've been using Matt Pryor at right tackle and Jalen Moore at left tackle as the backups. But Jalen Moore played so well, and Pryor's just kind of a guy. I thought, well, maybe they would just slide Jalen Moore from the left side over to the right side. But he said they're going to start with Pryor. If McKivitz can't go, it's going to be Pryor to start. And then if he struggles, they'll go to Jalen Moore. And it doesn't sound like Pryor's going to have a real long rope. That's for sure. But I kind of like what I've seen from Jalen Moore. And I wonder who's better, Colton McKivitz banged up or Jalen Moore healthy? Because Jalen Moore does have, he's got prototypical offensive tackle size and length, arm length and base. I mean, he is an offensive tackle. It's not like he's some guy who's kind of trying to be an offensive tackle. And then there's also Ilm Manning, and Manning is a tough
That's
guy.
an intriguing prospect.
Yeah,
he's intriguing.
He's tough and he's balanced. And if you watch him, he's strong. He's played a lot of left tackle at Hawaii. He's built like a guard or a center, but
Over 60 games.
he's played left tackle. So, I kind of almost feel like I would trust him at tackle. And so they have some options, and I like some of their backups. I haven't seen Pryor play at all, but Jalen Moore's played well, and Feliciano, I think, has played well enough to start. So
Yeah.
they're okay. I mean, they're not. They're going to have to address, offensive tackle in the draft in April for sure. But I there's worse lines than their line. I'm eager to see in this game, can the 49ers, run the ball again, through, between the tackles, because they've really struggled to run the ball. And to me, the most alarming part about this O-line, it's not the sacks, because I think Purdy's taken, I think there's like 12 quarterbacks or something that have taken more sacks than him, or maybe more. He hasn't taken tons of sacks. It's that they haven't opened the run lanes, and if you can't run between the tackles, and then you get up against a team like Cincinnati that has a bunch of speed, and you can't run to the edges, now it's like, okay, well, then you can't run, and it's like, Kyle's whole offensive game plan evaporates as soon as there's no play action, and there's no
That's when
play
you
action if you
engineer
can't run.
in. That's when you engineer in Debo, right? Like I'm starting to understand, or I feel as though, right? I don't want to be presumptuous, but I feel as though I'm starting to understand how we're getting the run game done, right? And it's not traditional. I feel like teams that are too slow, we're good to go. Wide zone, we're off to the races, right? Then you get teams that are fast, all right, and they can get us to the edges. What you have to do is you got to get misdirection. You got to go out off counter. You have to see if you can get them moving, all right, to go up and under them. But when you get a team that's stout enough to stand firm in the middle and they're fast enough to get to the edges, I feel like that's when Kyle starts utilizing Debo, because I don't care how fast you are, nobody's faster than the ball, right? Nobody's faster than the ball. So a quick throw from Brock to Debo that covers 8 yards in a matter of seconds. That's kind of the space game that we're playing with the run game. We're trying to get the ball on the edges as fast as possible with our strongest guys on their weakest parts of their defense. So I see where he's kind of he's going for the devil he knows versus the devil he doesn't with how he goes with this run game. It's when we start to see the true struggles when injuries start to happen and you can't utilize somebody like Debo Samuel. Well, that option is out off of your run game. And then you run into the perfect storm where you get a team where they're saying, well, you're not going to run around us. You're going to have to run through us. And that's the part of the Niners run game that is concerning. I don't know if they can run through anybody. They could run counter, right? They could get you going wide and then come up under it. They can bounce. And then if you get a team that's slow enough, off to the races. We're going to kill them in the run game all day. But when you get a team that's savvy enough to stay on the edges and they're fast enough to chase down wide zone and they're strong enough not to get ran at, okay, which that's something that we don't do strong. That's not our strong suit. Then you have to ask yourself, okay, well, the basis of our offense is compromised. Where do we go from here? Because we don't have a pure passing attack in this offense. Like you said yourself, the entire passing attack is based off of the play action game, right? And then we build off of it. But play action doesn't happen without running the ball. So even when we talk about how this offense is mimicked throughout the league, make no mistake about it, nobody's taking the pass game. Nobody's taking this pass game. They're taking the run game. That's it. And then they're doing what they want to do with the pass game. So we just have to figure out what they're going to do offensively, because I feel as though that coming up on year 7, we may not know what the scheme is going to absolutely do week to week, but we understand. I think we've all watched it long enough, Larry, to understand what they're trying to do. We understand the initiatives at hand. What do you think?
Well, I mean, there's no question that they have a unique, that's what makes their run game so hard to stop, is that it has great diversity. They use running backs, they use wide receivers, they use end arounds. They're trying to hit you with angles. They're trying to, full speed, one cut, get to the edge if you can, but if not, cut it back. They're looking for, that one cut and go kind of an angle, and sometimes they can bust them. One guy that it seems like we're not going to see is JP Mason. And, Grant asked Kyle this question yesterday about JP Mason, and you saw the way Kyle reacted to it. He, it didn't sit well with him. I'll share the screen so people who didn't see it can see it. This is from yesterday's presser, and I wasn't there yesterday, but here is the presser from yesterday. And this is Grant asking the question to Kyle.
What does he need to
It will go back to the front here. Here we go.
Mason hasn't had a carry in 3 weeks. He's averaging 5.6 yards per carry. What does he need to do to get back in the mix and earn your trust?
Why would that be the issue?
I don't know. I guess it's confusing for a running back who's so efficient to fall out of the mix. I was wondering what he would need to do to get back in it.
2 guys in front of him would have to get hurt to get more. There's 3 of them. Yeah, when you're playing, I don't trust him or something. That's what I heard in the question. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what your question is.
Okay, let me try again.
Why is he the third running back?
Yeah,
Oh, he gave him his own question back.
Mitchell's averaging 2-something yards a carry.
And we look at more than stats. Mitchell's our number 2 back. He's done some pretty good things here. And JP's our 3. He's been our 2 at times. But that's how most cases are in the NFL.
I mean, that was just downright, uncomfortable. That's Belichickian. That was Belichickian right there. Okay. So let's. I've been wanting to ask this question for 3 weeks,
right?
And I never asked this question because every time when I think about the questions I'm going to ask, I'm always thinking, what's the answer going to be? Mm-hmm. And So I'm sitting there the last couple of weeks going, I want to see more JP Mason, but there's nothing that speaks more clearly than the depth chart. The depth chart speaks very clearly. They think the guys who are number 1s are better than the guys who are number 2s. Mm-hmm. They think the guys that are number 2s are better than guys number 3. Mm-hmm. So what I think and what you think and what they think, we may not connect.
There may be a gap. There may be a gap.
It's all opinion. I think the way, I'm not going to, critique Grant because Grant's been doing this forever. God knows he's got more subscribers than all of us put together at this juncture. But I will say this, you always got to know how your question is going to be grabbed by the person on the other end. When he threw the trust factor in, like what's he got to do to regain your trust? Mm-hmm. Then he put Shanahan on the defensive, because then if you accept that as a premise and just answer that question, now it's like, so Kyle accepted that, the premise that he doesn't trust JP Mason. You heard him say it. Grant asked him, how does he earn back your trust? And Kyle started giving him an answer. So Kyle didn't want that whole idea even out there in the public discourse that he distrusts any of his players. So the trust word is what he played on to kind of sidestep a very fair question, which is that a lot of 49er fans have, which is JP Mason looks better to our eye than Elijah Mitchell. What do you like about Elijah Mitchell or more? Or what does JP Mason need to do? We know he's third on the depth chart. I know the depth chart means the guys who are 1 and 2 are better in your eyes. I guess the question would be like, why exactly are they better? And do you envision, you guys utilizing Mason more in the coming games than you have in the last month or so? I think that's the question. And I think if you pinned him down on it, he would have answered it. But when he kind of sidetracked him with what does he have to do to earn your trust, you immediately got Kyle on the defensive going, hey man, I trust my guy. I'm not going with your premise that I don't trust. And then you've got this uncomfortable situation there. But I think the question was fair, because the bottom line is, one guy's averaging 6.5 a carry and the other guy ain't. And so, yeah, I know it has probably has a lot to do with things that I could guess, right? JP Mason fumbled 3 or 4 times this summer. Elijah Mitchell hasn't fumbled 3 or 4 times since high school. That's a big deal to coaches. JP Mason is probably not as dependable in blitz pickup as Elijah Mitchell is. There's probably reasons. There's no reason there's no reason there should be a problem to say, what are those reasons? Go ahead. Kyle didn't want to go there, but I think his pushback, Coach, was more about the whole notion of, you're saying I don't trust my players. It's kind of a loaded question, and I'm going to push back on that part of it. But it created a very awkward kind of exchange there. And, Grant is never going to run from an awkward exchange. But I thought the question is fair. It's a question that lots of 49er fans have been wondering, and Grant voiced, but it's just so easy to be like, hey, we got a depth chart, and our 1s are better than our 2s, and our 2s are better than our 3s. And what does he need to do? It needs to be better than 1 and 2. Well, what specifically does he need to do to be better than not 1, because he's not going to be better than 1, but then 2, than Elijah Mitchell? What specifically does Elijah do better than JP? I think that's the question. If Shanahan, don't you think that's really the question that we need? That's the crux of why Mitchell in his mind is above Mason. There has to be a reason, a football reason. And I think we all just wanted to hear him voice that. And he just didn't.
Well, I mean, I feel like well, first of all, that was a question that everybody was dying to ask. We've been asking that question for months, right? Literally months. Nobody had the balls to ask, and Grant did, right? So, he's a pro, and he's going to die on the hill. Pro, the professionalism lies in not only asking the question that everybody avoids, but also in withstanding the storm of criticism that follows. It is what it is. So, Grant's a big boy, and he understood exactly who he was talking to and what kind of answer he could have gotten. Asking,
does he deserve criticism?
Does he deserve criticism?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, deserve criticism. He's in the seat. I mean, when we deserve criticism.
Does that question deserve to be criticized? I don't think so.
No, not at all. Not at all. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to ask those questions, right? We have the responsibility to be as honest as we can. And if we see something, not to sit on it based on how we feel the room is going, we have to ask the question. For me, I feel like Kyle he got let off the hook because he started going into like this depth chart deal. And we all know that that's not how Kyle goes by depth charts at all. All right. Kyle played Tevin Coleman to start the Super Bowl over Raheem Mostert. Okay. We weren't talking about depth charts when Deebo Samuel came in and we didn't have anybody. We had running backs. All right. That was Jeff Wilson Jr. was there. Other running backs were there, but it was Deebo that got peppered in because we actually had a wrinkle that gave our running game more complexity because it needed it at the time. And that's what we're really trying to get to. And this almost kind of gleams onto the last topic that we talked about with how Kyle utilizes his run game to get things going. It wasn't the fact of JP Mason is better or worse than Christian McCaffrey or Elijah Mitchell. He's a different runner than both of the people that in front of him. Okay. That's the point. The point isn't whether or not he's first, second, or third string. The point is that he's a stronger runner. He's bigger. He's stronger than the other 2 running backs in front of him. And when he gets on the field, good things happen. And he also can utilize a swath of the playbook that we've seen the other 2 backs that are in front of him can't even utilize halfway. All right. Putting Christian McCaffrey in between the tackles is not good for him, and it jeopardizes his longevity and him being healthy to be on the field. Ditto, Elijah Mitchell. On top of them even trying to use Elijah Mitchell as an in-between back, he doesn't even get nearly as much carries because he doesn't have the production. JP Mason is instant physicality. JP Mason is instant tone setting. JP Mason is a closer. JP Mason needs to be on the field to be able for us to utilize more of our playbook. Those are the things why you want JP Mason on the field. And those are the things why all of us have been mentioning, why isn't JP Mason playing on the field? If we really looked at it from Kyle's edict of, oh, well, he's the third string, you see how he just kind of sat back on it because he felt as though, all right, this question wasn't constructed as well as it could have been, so I'm going to hide in the bushes. Okay, well, he's not third string. What do you think about that? It's almost like this dude stopped playing games.
It's like why, essentially the question is, why is Mason third string and not second string? And the answer was because he's third string.
Right. And the thing, right. And the problem is, that we started with naming him on this stupid ass string. Like that's not how we do. That's not how our offense is ran. We run the ball with the hot hand, or we run the ball utilizing certain areas of the playbook with certain runners. I don't understand what's so hard for that. We've been doing that for years. So for him to start going into this first back, second string back, it's like, dude, you had your receiver at running back 2 years ago. Stop talking to me about first and second string. Like, dude, we're talking about using him the right way.
I know. What he's saying, though, is like the question was, hey, what does he need to do to earn your trust? And what Kyle's saying is, it's not about my trust. It's about the depth chart, and he's third on it right now.
Right.
So in our mind as a football team, the other two guys are better. So the question is, you obviously, and it's like, this is kind of why it was such a tough question to formulate, because I knew he was going to fall back on this kind of depth chart thing, where it's like, why is he not playing more? He's not playing more because we got other backs who are higher than him on the depth chart. The question, I guess, then goes to the follow-up is, why is Elijah Mitchell? You don't have to explain CMC. He might be the MVP of the league. And he was a first-round pick, and, so on and so forth. But why is Elijah Mitchell in front of JP Mason? Is it based on career achievement? Is it based on this year's production, or is it based on fumbling, the lack of fumbling? I'd love to know what it is. And the other question is this 100% your call? I know you're the head coach, but you also have one of the most veteran running back coaches in the history of the league. Is it Bobby T's call?
There's absolutely no way this is on Bobby Turner. Stop that.
There's a lot of people that will say, hey, you don't get on the field as a running back for the 49ers unless Bobby T gives you the okay. And he's very much about in control over who gets the reps.
So Bobby Turner gave Deebo Samuel the okay.
I'm just saying, according to some people around the team, Coach, Bobby T is the gatekeeper for all running back carries, and that if you don't pass his test, you don't see the field, and that he's a really tough judge, a really tough evaluator of young players. He doesn't trust them easily and doesn't want to put them out there. I think it's probably nuanced, right? Like, probably Elijah doesn't fumble and blocks the right guy more often, and so he's more trustworthy. And so he has Bobby T's trust and subsequently Kyle's trust as well. That's probably the answer. But how many weeks can you not utilize a player as explosive and as talented as JP Mason? He looks
I'll just say this,
like a poor man's Marshawn Lynch. That's what he looks like to me. He looks like a big power back that cannot be brought to the ground with an arm tackle. And I would love to see more of him. So I don't like the lifetime.
And then what's even crazy is like, you don't even have to use him all the time. Like, he could be on the field, or you could flex out CMC into the slot.
That's what I mean. Last week, exactly.
You don't even
more
have
dynamic.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to be solely JP Mason on the field. For the people who probably are saying, oh, well, he's probably a one-trick pony, so whenever he gets on the field, they'll know it's a run. No, it does not have to be that way, right? You can get very creative with it. So I don't understand why he's not playing, but the narrative that Bobby Turner is the reason why JP Mason is or is not playing, I think that's rich, man, honestly. So by that logic, right? If CMC, by that logic, CMC's carries and his usage is 100% on a position coach, and Kyle doesn't have anything to do about that. I just don't see him having that meticulous of a game plan. Like if it was up to Bobby Turner, right? If we're going by the Bobby Turner theory that Bobby Turner is the reason why players get on the field and don't get on the field from the running back position, then we have to also look at the theory of that. All right, well, if Christian McCaffrey is overplayed, that's because Bobby Turner wants him to play that much, and Kyle doesn't have anything to do with it. And that also means that when Kyle draws up his plays, he doesn't have any running back in mind, right? Bobby Turner can just throw in JP Mason during a series if he feels like he's like, you know what, JP can do it this time. I think that for as meticulous as Kyle is with his scheme, he draws up those run plays specifically for CMC in mind. He draws up plays specifically for Elijah Mitchell in mind. You can even see the plays that they run. There's stuff that you don't even see Elijah Mitchell do that CMC gets to do. All right. When's the last time you've seen Elijah Mitchell run wide zone consistently? You can't. Everything that he.
When was the last time you saw him run anything consistently? How many carries does the guy have this year?
Everything that he gets is in between the tackles.
CMC
you know what I'm saying?
Has had like the ridiculous percentage of the carries this year because he is so good.
Right. So it was on Bobby Turner during training camp where Bobby Turner was the one that told Kyle, hey, Tristan's going to take some days off, Kyle, because I see a big role for him in the offense based on what's good. No, that came from Kyle. I'm just saying
Bobby T had, there was people last year and, previous years where it's like, hey, man, when are you going to see Trey Sermon? You're not going to see Trey Sermon until Bobby T decides you want to see Trey Sermon. And I had people quote that to me a couple times. So, I just think that he's a unique case.
I think that's pretty coincidental. I think that that's pretty coincidental that Bobby T gets to be the gatekeeper on top of all of the crappy picks that Kyle picks up. All of the crappy running backs. Now it's on, hey, well, if Bobby T doesn't trust him, that's just what it is. It's just like, no, Bobby T's looking at him like, Kyle, you brought this guy in here. I'm not going to put my name on this kid. You know he's trash. You think that he's good and he's not. I think it's more of not Bobby T is not putting a guy on the field, but more along the lines of you're not seeing Trey Sermon because Kyle thought he was good. Bobby T was sick and finally got him and was like, what did you guys do?
I mean, we don't know. We don't know. For all we know, Bobby T sat there and pounded the table saying, I need Trey Sermon. Get me my Trey Sermon. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? We don't know.
Kyle literally said that Trey Sermon was his guy. Everybody talks about Trey Sermon being Kyle's guy.
But I'm just saying, who knows who's guy at the end of the day. I have a feeling that Bobby T probably has a big hand in every running back they draft. I mean, they seem like they hold him in really high regard. All right, let's talk a little bit about Jason Verrett. Sounds like Verrett's on the verge of signing. One of the most significant happenings of last week, probably the most significant happening of last week that we haven't hit on, is that Isaiah Oliver essentially has been replaced by Ambry Thomas. Isaiah Oliver played 3 snaps. Ambry Thomas played 46 snaps, and he played them all outside. And Lenore played inside, where he did miss some tackles, but he also made some tackles. I think it's the smart move. I think it was, it's funny too, because I asked Kyle the week before, I'm like, hey, are you going to inject any speed into your lineup? And he's like, well, you got any ideas? And I'm like, well, how about Danny Gray? He's like, well, that's one guy, but I'm talking about overall team speed. And so he kind of sloughed off my question last week about speed. Can you do anything to your lineup to give yourself a faster look on either side of the ball? And he kind of was like, not really. And then he takes 4.65 Isaiah Oliver off the field and replaces him with 4.4 flat Ambry Thomas. And surprise, surprise, the coverage is tighter and he's better in man-to-man. He's got tighter coverage. I mean, it's like, are we even speaking the same language now? I mean, literally, that is putting more speed on the field. When you take a guy off the field who runs 4.65 and had loose coverage, and you replace him with a guy who runs 4.4 flat and has tighter
the
coverage,
definition.
you've just done exactly what I suggested you do. But then you kind of scoffed at it when I suggested it. Whatever. Do you think that this is are they going to stay with Ambry? And then what do you make of the Verrett signing? I don't know that it's official, Coach. I'm seeing it as kind of like Kyle made it sound like Friday, like they haven't done the contract finalized yet, but they'd like to have him. And there's lots of indications that he may have asked Houston to release him from their practice squad on Wednesday, because he was on their practice squad Wednesday, and literally Thursday he was flying to San Francisco and San Jose and taking a physical with the Niners. So obviously he wants to be a 49er. He's from Fairfield, Vacaville area. He's a local guy. He's got, as you know, Coach, maybe the greatest feet of almost any cornerback. And so everybody always wants to give him a shot, even though he's glass and gets hurt just constantly. But what's your read on that? Is it like, hey, all hands on deck and Verrett's a good option? Or do you think this might be a statement that Womack and Luter Jr., whose window was open over the last week or so, maybe are not looking like they're able to get active and help them?
Well, I mean, what we really need is we need nickel help. And for all intents and purposes, Jason Verrett is a well and very much liked and respected veteran in our culture, in our locker room. He's kind of like one of the guys that got array, almost kind of like the cornerback version of who's the running back kid that we had that never got healthy, ended up signing with Kansas City.
Jerick
McKinnon, right? I think he understands that with the help that they need, he can find himself inserted on the field at any moment. I just feel as though that if he cracks through all of the guys that we previously had here, it's pretty much I feel like it's worse than what we thought. I'm not a really big fan of getting him on the field right away versus seeing what we have with the guys in the building. Now, to get back to the former part of your discussion with Ambry Thomas versus Isaiah Oliver.
Yeah. What do you think?
I'm not too sure that it's a permanent fix. That's not to cast any bad light on Ambry Thomas, but really, if you remember during the summer, Coach Wilkes said about Isaiah Oliver, he said, he's a versatile player who can do a lot of things for us, and we'll utilize him in those areas when we need to, right? So he already, in a way, kind of gave himself the out, where if they could put him in packages, take him in, take him out. And I feel like with Ambry being out there, yes, Ambry Thomas definitely did play outside. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say he had the best game of his career last week. And he played outside of himself, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Isaiah Oliver being peppered back into the lineup, but specifically because of what the Niners started to do disguise-wise. I feel as though that Isaiah Oliver got taken off the field because Fred Warner started taking a lot of his responsibilities with being attached to the tight end in pass coverage. So I don't know if that's something that we can keep doing week in and week out. I feel like a lot of what we did in the past game is, I don't think we should get really hung up on the consistency of who's out there. I really believe that this defense is true. What they really want to get to is facilitating their front seven as much as possible, that defensive line. And if that means that we've got to confuse guys, if that means that we got to disguise coverages, if that means that we got to shift guys in, take guys out, and then as fans, as conscientious observers, we're just like, dude, why is Isaiah Oliver in for a series and then he's out? Why is Ambry Thomas in for 2 series and then he's out? I feel as though that everything that we're doing on the back end is in service to give that defensive front just an extra hitch, because that's what they've needed. Even while the defense wasn't getting sacks, we were still leading the league in pressures, right? So for me, I see it I see it as is that I don't necessarily care about the consistency on the back end as far as who plays and who doesn't play, because I feel as though that whoever was back there in those positions was getting exposed because they didn't have enough nuance in what they were showing pre-snap to give the defensive line enough time to get to the quarterback. So yeah, Ambry Thomas is kind of the benefactor of, it's no mistake. I don't want to take anything away from Ambry, but it's no mistake that he had pretty much his best game when Chase Young got here. We finally got depth on the defensive line. The guys were getting to the quarterback, confusing them with different looks. So I don't want to necessarily put everything on player X means that this is going to be an advantage or a disadvantage for us, and player Y is going to be in the same way. I feel as though that with our secondary, we're going to be seeing a lot more different looks. We're going to see a lot of different things mixed up because it's always going to be in the guise of just help out the defensive line. Let's get them there. If we get a quarterback, in my opinion, Larry, if we get a quarterback that has the time to just work on our secondary, our D-line isn't doing their job. So we don't even, I feel like we're trying not to even get to that point. We want to disguise what you're doing, and by the time you get the answers to the test, it's too late, or you're working on your third hitch, or you're getting flushed out of the pocket. I think that's what we're doing on defense.
I just think at the end of the day, we can complicate it, but I just think Ambry's a better athlete. He's a better athlete than Oliver. He's faster. He's got tighter coverage. Steve said that he was better against the run too, and I think he sets the edge a little bit better. He's more of an enforcer. He's a hitter. He's a better tackler, and he's got better coverage. I think he's better.
One game. This is what you do,
Larry.
Larry.
No, that's not one game. This guy finished his rookie year. He made the biggest play in the playoffs that iced the playoff game.
Listen, I'm happy.
But it's about Ambry.
Let's not forget
Oliver.
Let's not have revisionist history. Ambry Thomas has struggled. Okay, he's not coming in here and all of a sudden he's a guy. Exactly, and that's the thing. Because we're looking at Isaiah Oliver, we can say that Ambry Thomas is better, but let's not elevate him past his skill set just because he's better than a certain player. Let's not do that.
I'm just looking at the best they got. It's not about some ideal. I'm not going to look away from free. I'm not going to look away from good in the pursuit of perfect.
I like that.
He was better than Oliver. Oliver had given up 100% completion percentage. The sad thing about it is, even when Wilkes is asked about Oliver, he still winds up talking about, or asked about Ambry, he still winds up talking about Oliver. It's like, Ambry was good, and I liked him. He showed that he had talent in training camp. But we haven't given up on Isaiah Oliver. Well, I get it. You're a big Oliver guy, but I'm not. I'm a big Ambry guy because I actually like pass coverage guys that are next to the receiver, not in the neighborhood. And I just don't think that Oliver can do it anymore. I think he doesn't give you a ton in the run game, so he's got to give you something good in the pass game. And I think he's good. He was good against Waller in week 3. I think he's good against certain matchups against bigger slots or tight ends. But if you're talking about covering a receiver like a Cooper Kupp, who the Niners are going to have to cover later this year, or just some of these guys out of the slot, you got to have a real corner. You can't have a guy who's like leggy and long and loses steps in transition. And you
be going in on this. Larry, when you don't like your guys, man, you like to lay it on thick.
Coverage is coverage. It's like, it ain't about coaches. It ain't about technique. It's about dudes. It's a really hard position. This is why you got to draft these guys, because it's really hard. Now, I'm eager to see what Womack does, what Luter does, because I'm not as concerned about their youth, and I'm more excited about their ability to run and cover and mirror. So we'll see. I love the way Luter looked, but that was way back in minicamp.
That was a long time ago.
And I love the way Womack looked, but that was before he hurt his knee in training camp. He looked phenomenal. I don't know what these guys are looking like now, and the fact that they're on the verge of signing Jason Verrett kind of makes me think that maybe those guys aren't looking particularly great. Maybe those guys aren't looking like they can help. And so maybe there's a necessity there. I hope I'm wrong because I really like Womack and Luter, and I had kind of held out hope that those guys were going to contribute this year because they're both really good man-to-man cover guys. I mean, Luter's rare. You don't see that many guys who played
That
press
big.
man who are that big, that athletic, long arms. He's got potential to be maybe one of their better corners.
That's why I keep bringing him up.
Point.
I feel like Darrell Luter Jr. I don't understand. I don't know if he's healthy. What do you know about him as far as his health in the building? Is he back off the pup? Or is he?
No, this is they opened the practice window. So I talked to him this week, and he said, and he's a mature kid. He's married with a kid.
Yeah, he's got kids.
His wife and kid are here with him now, and they're going through it. I mean, he basically had a knee injury this summer, and it caused him to have like a deep bone bruise, and it was really painful, and it took a long time to heal. But he's ready to roll, and he's practicing now. He looks great on the practice field. I mean, in some ways, Coach, he's the prototype. He's 6'1" with really long arms, 33.5 inch arms. So he plays like a 6'3" corner. He's suffocating. He only played press man at South Alabama up on the line of scrimmage. So, a lot of rookies really don't feel confident in that spot. That's where he feels the most confident. But then I don't know the Niners play a lot of zone. I don't know how aware he is in the zone. I haven't seen enough reps there. So we'll see. He's definitely athletic and confident and going to have an NFL future. The question is it going to start, next week, or is it going to start next year? And then Womack, I haven't seen Womack moving around. Womack looked as good as Lenore in July. But he suffered an injury, and I don't know how he came back from it. So,
yeah, I think he had an MCL sprain.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, if it was just a sprain, then he missed a lot of time. He probably is ready to roll. I like Womack. I thought he almost could have had 2 or 3 pick sixes last year, and I projected him to have those pick sixes this year with a little bit more awareness and knowledge of the D. But the injury has kept him out. So we're going to find out. Shanahan says those 2 guys plus Beal are all looking good, and Danny Gray. By the way, that was the other thing that came out this week.
I would love to see Danny Gray get a look, man.
He says he's good to go. We'll see how they work him in. Now it's just a matter of who are they going to take out to put him in.
Juwan.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They love Juwan. It's like Juwan does tons of things for them too. He blocks. He makes big catches. He's a possession guy. I agree. But Juwan is almost like a made man. He's another guy who's they love Juwan. They hold Juwan in really high regard. So it's going to be hard for Danny Gray to get on the field, but he would give them some speed for sure. Okay, a couple other things I want to get to here. What is your thought on now that this week really kind of a dramatic week for quarterbacks? Josh Allen played terrible, turned the ball over a ton, and doesn't look like Buffalo is even going to make the playoffs. Now, maybe I'm saying that premature, but go check their schedule and look at the way they're playing. And they just lost to Denver at home, and they're not playing well, and they just fired Ken Dorsey, and Allen's not playing well. And then you got Joe Burrow and the Bengals, who I thought, Coach, looked like maybe the best
world beaters.
Maybe the best team in the league when they were here. And I was and they're probably not going to make the playoffs, right?
Oh, hell no. No.
And now that Burrow's out.
Mm-hmm.
So amazingly, we're now in this situation where it really looks like it's Ravens or Chiefs in the AFC. Who do you feel who's the scarier team in your mind between Lamar, who looks like the MVP, and their killer run game, and their number 1 D, or Kansas City? They have limited receivers, but they still got Mahomes and Reed and Pacheco and Kelsey, and they've got a killer D. Who's scarier between Baltimore and Kansas City?
Brock Purdy. He's like, I'm playing with you. It's still the Chiefs. Albeit I do feel like the Ravens are the best team in the league. They have everything. They may not have as many dynamic receivers as one would like, but Lamar Jackson is just having a year. God, I mean, for what he's doing from the pocket, he's choosing to be athletic, and their offensive line, man. Okay, so the Eagles' offensive line is just strength, right? Just power, just a completely making grown men look like children. But that Ravens offensive line, those dudes are the body snatchers, man. I'm talking about, dude. I watched them play against the Seahawks, man, and they were throwing Leonard Williams is a well-respected 3-tech. He's a man, and he was getting bodied against Baltimore, bro. Like, they were throwing guys around. That running back Mitchell that they have, that new guy they got from ECU, dude.
Keaton Mitchell. He's on the Krueg show. He's on the Krueger fantasy team this year.
Hey, bro.
East Carolina Pirate.
Come on, man. ECU, Greenville, stand up.
Dude, I've been carrying this kid since August on my fantasy team because I love this kid. He's a tremendous burner, and he's small, but he's not. He's short, but he's not small.
ECU was my first college trip. Fun fact. That was my first visit. You know what I'm saying?
Was CJ 2000 went there, right? Isn't that where?
Yeah, he was there. He was there when I was at Marshall, but when I was in high school, I got recruited to go to ECU, and Art Brown was the guy there. He was their running back. He was like the man. They had just built that brand new stadium that they have now. Dude, they were nasty. They had like the indoor facility with dude, this is like back in like, what was this, like 01, 02? Like, I think 2000, and this is back when they had where weight rooms had like the turf. They had turf indoors for like the first time. It was the wildest shit you ever seen as like a high school player. Like, dude, they got a field in the weight room. This is nuts. Like, ECU is always one of the sweetest schools ever, bro. Good program, but
underrated program. Underrated program.
Very underrated program. Yeah. For as much as I have to talk about the Ravens and, going off on my tangent, it's still the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is still the man. He's the best quarterback in the league, and it's a quarterback's league, man. And everything is ran off of him. And on top of it, they're actually kind of in a way getting back their weapons. They know how to win with efficiency. That's why they're the king of the hill. They don't have to go pedal to the metal at all times to win, because they have that man. Because they have Patrick Mahomes. They can be injured and still be just as good because they have Patrick Mahomes. I mean, without Patrick Mahomes, really, the Chiefs are just guys, quite honestly. But really, the truth of the matter is that if we're gonna slay our demons, we got to go through Kansas City. I mean, Baltimore's going to be hard, but they played kind of the same style of football we play, right? They're physical. Whoever slows the ball, whoever gets the ball and wins with possession. When you play with running teams, it's kind of this, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Two running teams, we have the ball up, we're up 2. We shouldn't mess that game up. But a team like the Chiefs, man, they're quick strike. They can do anything. They can literally show up and be anybody who they want to be offensively because of Patrick Mahomes. So it's still Patrick Mahomes in my opinion.
Yeah, Mahomes, it's
Notice I didn't even say the Chiefs. I said it's still Patrick Mahomes in my opinion. I just realized what I said. Like,
I'm always looking for the team that can knock off Mahomes, and so the Niners don't have to. But yeah, it's just Mahomes and Reed. It's just even without weapons, they're so scary. They're just so scary. It's so funny. I'm reading on Niners Nation. There's an article here by Jason Aponte. It says 72% of 49er fans credit Steve Wilkes' move to the sideline for the performance in Jacksonville.
I'm not touching that. Because if you don't think it was a big deal, you get looked at as a hater. And
why are you a hater if you don't think it's a big deal?
I don't think it was a big deal, man.
I don't think it was a big deal either, but I don't think you're a hater if you don't think it's a big deal. I just think that it's just, I asked Hufanga about it this week, and I said, is it, did he make the coverage tighter? Did him standing on the sideline make D linemen come off blocks? Did him standing on the sideline make you miss fewer tackles?
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, I get your point. He's like, but, also this game is a game that you really feel. And a lot of it's about how good the communication is. And sometimes just having him there streamline the communication for us. So, if Hufanga is going to tell me to my face that having Steve there impacted the communication and it was a net positive, who am I to argue and say, no, it wasn't? But at the same time, when Grant said to him, hey, Steve, did your being on the sideline make the coverage tighter? And are you the reason? He laughed and was like, yeah, I'm the reason. My move to the sideline is the reason we played better. And he knows it's just not the case.
Well, we're a romantic team.
But
we're
whatever.
A romantic fan base.
And also the point was, Coach, was that the Niner players are accustomed to having their coordinator on the sideline. And so maybe there's something to it. If that's what they're accustomed to, that's what makes them comfortable. I don't think I think it's an overblown topic, but if they say it's legit, if they say it impacted them, then it impacted them.
The one reason why I do give it some credit is that it actually played out in the media, right? So it was something that made it through, something that small, like, hey, going from the booth to the sideline, right? Like the fact that was able to be asked in press rooms, it was headlines, it actually happened. There's something real there, right? Like it, for him to actually to have done it, then you had to have known that there are some people in the room who probably made some comments like, yo, man, he needs to be down here. You know what I'm saying? And to be quite honest, in a way, if I was Kyle, I'd be a little, if I was Kyle, I would be a little bit offended. Like, wow, so y'all need him down here? I'm down here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why do y'all need him down here? You know what I'm saying?
It might not have been about either. Somebody whispered something to me this week down at Ninerland that it made really that Steve is taking the criticism and the the slings and the arrows, but it may actually be just about like the communication, the go between. Like he was communicating to Johnny Holland. Johnny Holland's a veteran linebacker coach. He was communicating to the linebackers. But if anything gets lost in translation, then it's like, whose fault is it? Well, it's either the player's fault, Johnny's fault, or Steve's fault, right? And who knows? Maybe it's Johnny's fault. Maybe it's Steve's fault. Maybe it's just that, you've played that game where, you give one message and you pass it down the line. Yeah. You get 6, 7 people down the line. It's a totally different message. And so, maybe there's something going on there that the message wasn't getting sent to the players, consistently. I don't know. But if the players think it helps, then it helps. But overall, I think what helped more was having tighter coverage. And what helped more was having Chase Young. And what helped more was having, Drake Greenlaw have a week off. You know what I mean? I think those 3 things helped more than
But if the guys are willing, if the guys are coming out and saying
they're saying it.
It makes
they're saying he meant something, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, and then also what you said, the guys are accustomed to it. And if you think about it, it is a very stark difference, for however we feel about it. The proof is in the pudding where it is a stark difference to go from Robert Saleh on the sideline, D'Amico Ryans on the sideline, and then literally nobody on the sideline, right? That's a big difference. They cast big shadows. They cast very big weights. They're emotional leaders. They're tone setters on the defense. But let's be honest, when you have that type of energy on defense, when you have that type of energy with your guys, it's infectious. Other guys feed off of that stuff. And it does kind of feel like, if the defense is going off and having a good time, their teammates, it's not as only defensive players are feeling that energy. Offensive guys are getting jacked up too. So in a way, Kyle's not that guy. Clearly the team doesn't see him like that guy, because he would have naturally just picked up that role. So they I feel like the Niners they messed up on LinkedIn when they started putting out their job recs for DC. They should have put in the job description motivational and very rah-rah on sidelines is a must. Like they should have put that in the job rec because that's what you apparently need here to be a defensive coordinator for the 49ers.
You know, it's funny. My favorite question and answer of the week, Coach, was I asked Steve Wilkes about screen passes. Did you hear his response when I asked him about screen passes? He was like, he's like, we need to get better at that on defense. And then he's like, but at the end of the day, it's not about technique or coaching necessarily. It's about whooping that ass.
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, obviously the D linemen, they're getting up the field. They got to hustle back and everybody's got to run to the football. But at the end of the day, he's like, it's not about technique or positioning or scheme. It's about hustle and want to, desire, and, the kinds of things that each individual can control.
Let me tell you something, man. I had a coach who was a mentor of mine, and, you can get really lost in the weeds. And this being an evaluator. How many times, Larry, especially when you first started evaluating, did you get really artful with how you describe players? And his bucket step is perfect, and his inside hand strikes the play side breastplate of the defender, and he gets great angles when he gets to the second level. How many times have you had coaches look at that, ball that shit up and say, is he good or is he not? Can the kid play? You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that this stuff makes you sound good and you come off sounding very technical as if you know football, and beware of people who talk like that too in football, because they're hiding something. People who want to talk to you about scheme and they want to talk to you about the arrow route and the concept, and people who punch down like that don't know shit about football. That's the first time you've ever heard me talk about somebody not knowing about football on a platform. But that really annoys me, because the truth of the matter is that football is for everybody. You can see when somebody is not giving their effort. You can see when somebody is getting their ass whooped. Anybody can see that, okay? And when you get people who try to get so artful, where they love, that's the thing about Kyle being the head coach of this team. He's brought out a lot of dorks. A lot of these, Kyle has brought out a lot of these dorks who love to talk about his scheme and how Kyle just loves to dial it up and he's just so creative. And it's just like, dude, you don't know shit about the game. You don't know shit. All you know is what your little books tell you. And somebody gave you an old version of the playbook. And now you get on Twitter and all of your little accoutrement and have a good time punching down at people who think that you know what you're talking about. So yes, I agree exactly with Coach Wilkes. You can talk about technique. You can talk about how specifically a guy got beat. And those things are perfect for the film room. Those things are perfect for you drill it out. You get those drills together. But at the end of the day, if you're getting your ass whooped and you're not showing no effort, you're getting your ass whooped. All right. And that's just what it is. So I agree with them 100%. Like, some things are just about not being refusing to be beat. That's it.
Play defense, close the space. It's as simple as that. That's what it's about, closing the space. And when you hear Kyle talk about his disappointment with it, what does he say? He says, hey, there's too much space. And what does that mean? That means, hey, you know what? And you can throw some excuses out there. Oh, certain zones, get guys out of position. If you're rushing hard up the field in the wide nine, you're, 3 steps out of the play. But guess what? As soon as you recognize what, the play recognition is, as soon as you see it screened, you got to bust ass back. That's why that you watch those drills where they're going at Darryl Tapp in practice and they're sprinting one way and then he's flipping around and they're sprinting the other way. It's for that. That is basically, you're sprinting at the quarterback screen. Now you're sprinting at the running back, and you can't ease into it. You got to full bore at the quarterback, full bore back at the running back. And a lot of times it's about your conditioning, your desire, how quickly you recognize it. A guy like Hargrave has been tremendous, I think, at recognizing screens. he's not the best run defender, but man, he recognizes the screen early, and man, his first 3 or 4 steps back to the back are explosive.
Hell yeah.
And that's pretty, that shows me a desire, because, going after the running back in the screen doesn't get you the contract. Going after the quarterback and getting up the field gets you the sacks, which gets you the contract. So it's a thankless job to chase that running back down, but your coaches and your teammates will admire the hell out of it. And who was it? Was it Cleveland Farrell? Was it?
Farrell.
A couple weeks ago that saved the touchdown.
Cleveland Farrell saved that touchdown on that screen, came down from like almost damn near 65 yards.
Yeah,
down the field, man. Like that right there is like effort. That's a guy who's always going to have a job. He's always going to have a locker room. He's always going to get paid, because that's the essence of football. I'm better than you. And even when I'm beat, I'm going to fight like hell to get back. Right. So that's a lot of the stuff that we weren't seeing earlier on in the season, because these guys are quite used to play defenses or not defenses rather, but offensive kind of playing to them. That the Niners play a very vanilla style of defense where we show coverages pre-snap and we dare you to beat us. Well, if you're going to play that way, then you got to come with ridiculous effort. Right. You can't half step whatsoever. So I agree with Coach Wilks, and I've had players who I've coached. They love to do that. They get beat and they want to get technical when they get beat. It's like, oh, what do you think I should have done right here? You should have held his ass. What are you talking about? What should you have done? You know what I'm saying? Oh, how do I get my inside step stronger, coach? Get your ass in the weight room. I can't coach that shit up. You got beat. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's an element of football that goes beyond coaching. It's just like, bro, you a man? Is you a man or not? Period.
It's so funny. I was talking to Cleveland Farrell about a month ago, and we were talking about something. He's like, man, if you're afraid, get a dog. I tell guys, if you're afraid, get a dog. I was doing an interview this week with Chase Young, and man, the one thing about Chase is he's a bad A. I mean, he is really, smart guy, really interesting. But it's like we were talking about, him and Bosa wrecking shop last week, and he's like, we plan on doing that every Sunday. And it's like, when we were talking about the opponent a little bit, and he's like, yeah, they got to, we got to deal with them, but they got to deal with us, and we got a damn good D line, and we know it, it's like, so he gives them a level of swagger that they didn't necessarily have on that defensive line before him. They wanted to have it, but they weren't having success. He now completes the whole thing and gives them that swagger. Like, he's just got a belief that they're not just going to do it, that they're going to kick ass and do it up big. So, it's it definitely, just talking to Chase, you can see why he was such a great addition, because he completes that 4-man front in a way that, there is no way to counter it or scheme for it, and now the Niners have to have real tight coverage because the ball's coming out fast. And you think it's coming out fast before, it's coming out even faster now when people see how much rush the 49ers can put together.
I think we run top 5th in the league in pass coverages, in passes let out within 2.5 seconds from the pocket. So that kind of leads into what we do very well. I think that we have like a dropped pick against Joe Burrow earlier on in that game. That's what I thought we were going to have a good day against them. When who was that? Fred that jumped that pick and he dropped it early on against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So, the boys are going to play together. Chase Young, he did a lot of that in Washington, right? You got to understand, this isn't a guy that played in a bet. This isn't a Christian McCaffrey story, where this is a guy who played at a high level and was everything to a franchise, and the franchise let him down and nobody was good around him. And he finally needed to go to a team to highlight his skill set. That's not this story. Okay. Washington, their entire defensive line is littered with first-round talent, good first-round talent that we've even wanted on our team. All right. Chase Young underperformed on that defensive line. Okay. And the reason why he's here is because we want him to be galvanized with what we bring. Okay. He needs to step up to our level. I don't want us to start getting this Stockholm syndrome where we just everything's about because Chase is here now. That's the key that changed everything. No, Chase came here and he noticed that, okay, I'm on my second franchise with yet another defensive line that's littered with guys. I got to show and prove. I can't come here and half step because now it's going to be me. I can pull that off with Washington because Washington is an imperfect vessel and everybody knows that they have their issues organizationally. So you got a mulligan. You can't pull that off here. You come here, you can't talk about Coach Krueger. Nobody's going to look at Coach Krueger and say, well, Coach Krueger couldn't get Chase Young together. No. It's going to be on you. So my thing with Chase is, yes, I love his confidence. I'm glad that he's here, but he got to show and prove too. All right, he just ain't happy we ain't just happy because you here. He got to show and prove.
Two last things before we get out of here. One interesting question this week from Jake Hutchinson, who covers the Niners for CamBR.com, and he asked Steve Wilks on Thursday about Jair Brown, and it was funny because Wilks immediately goes into this conversation about how they were just talking about Jair Brown and how, they were really impressed by Jair. And it sounds like, according to at least what Steve said, that that we may see Jair Brown here in the next, in this last stretch of the year. He hasn't played very much. I mean, if you look at the snaps, he's barely played, Coach, but they like what Jair's done on special teams, and it sounds like Jair may wind up getting some run with the 49ers. So wouldn't that be something to see Jair Brown? What kind of look do you think it would be to put Jair Brown out there? Are you going to like a 3 safety look? I mean, how do you think he would play for Hufanga? Would he play for Gibson? Where do you think Jair's skill set fits best?
I'd like to see probably like a maybe see him get bumped down as probably like maybe a dime backer, or maybe let him go back and bump down Huff as maybe a dime backer and see what you can do with that, with him on the backside. I'd like to see him in some overhang positions at that that strong safety position, getting downhill. I want to see him get some easy looks, send him on a blitz, send him off the edge, something that he's confident in doing. And then we'll see from there. I haven't seen enough of Jair Brown to actually know his deficiencies. So I'm not going to sit on here and pontificate about what I know and don't know about him. I truly have not seen enough of him. So when he gets on the field, based off of what we know about him before he got here and what he showed in camp, is I am a little perplexed about his lack of utilization on the defense, because it seemed as though that when he first came on, at least in OTAs, that he was an early contributor. He was standing out very early. It seemed is that he kind of faded off as camp grew on. You didn't really hear about him as much. And I'm trying to understand what happened there. I do see him being used on special teams, and he's not moping. I'm not going to pick.
No, he's a great guy to talk to during the week. He's bouncing around the room. He's enthusiastic. He's cocky.
See that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a well-liked player. This is a respected player.
Mm-hmm.
This guy hits hard, runs fast, wants to be good.
And to touch on that stuff, Larry, like, not to beat up on some guys, but you and I both know guys that they were put in those special teams roles, right? Those punt return roles, those kickoff roles, those punt team roles. And we saw the effort not being there. They moped. They had the poor me's, all right, because they weren't playing the position that they wanted to. They weren't getting the reps that they wanted to. And that's part of the reasons why our special teams on the low kind of struggles, because you got a lot of guys who believe that they should be playing, who aren't doing necessarily the job that they need to be doing on special teams. But from what I've seen from Jair Brown in special teams, he's a willing tackler. Him and Ronnie Bell, honestly, are kind of two of my favorite guys to watch on special teams. So I would love to see him get some more bump, but I also would like to see him in more advantageous positions once he does get on the field, which means I like to see him blitzing. That's really kind of like the bread and butter of what he was really great at, as far as being a willing tackler, being able to play beyond outside of his frame and play behind the line of scrimmage. And then some of the things that we know about him, which is I think he had 11 career picks in Penn State.
Got great ball skills.
Yeah, good ball skills. I want to be able to see some of that stuff moving forward, but at the same time, this is the league. So we got to see what they see, right? What is he struggling with? And we just don't know yet.
Yeah, no, there's not a lot of film, but I mean, if you watch Meadow at Penn State, he made plays in the pass game, but he also made plays in the box. So, you could debate, is he a strong safety like a Hufanga? Is he a deep center field guy like a Gibson? I think he's got both skills. I mean, he's definitely got the ability to pick off passes. And I think that's going to translate, but he's also a very physical in the box run defender. Okay, last one here. This is kind of interesting. So there's a story.
They're killing you in the chat, Larry. You got to get these super chats. They keep talking about these super chats.
We'll get the super chats for sure. 49. There's a story by Robert Marvey, NFL Analysis Network, on online right now that the 49ers could be a potential trade suitor for, wait for it, Mac Jones. How about that? People, I mean, whether you like Brock Purdy or not, some people are sold on him, other people are not. But according to this, they're speculating that Mac Jones, who's fallen out of favor in New England, that he's struggling there. He's had, Patriots are having an awful season. Jones has been benched. His future is in doubt. Bill Barnwell of ESPN wrote that if the team wants to trade him in the near future, that the 49ers would be, quote, an obvious landing spot. Here's the quote from Barnwell. It says, the Patriots can't head into 2024 with Mac Jones as their unquestioned starter. Unless he dramatically turns things around in the second half, they will have little choice but to decline Jones' fifth-year option for 2025, leaving him in a make-or-break contract year next season. He would only cost $2.8 million in 2024 if the Patriots wanted to keep him as a backup, and he would theoretically have trade value with the 49ers as an obvious landing spot, given Kyle Shanahan's reported interest before the Niners drafted Trey Lance. James Dudko, who writes for Heavy.com, also pointed out that Jones could be a seamless fit into Kyle's offense, given his experience in RPO offensive sets. The quote here from Dudko is, mobility has often been the key for quarterbacks operating the Shanahan offense. Moving pockets, rollout passes, RPOs are the foundation of the system. Jones hasn't been known for his wheels in New England, but he does boast solid experience operating RPOs. He's a noted fan of run-pass options from his days at Alabama. Shanahan's love of RPOs has helped Brock Purdy go from Mr. Irrelevant to in the 2022 draft to one of the most efficient quarterbacks in football. Anyway, what do you think? I mean, first of all, it looks like Belichick is the time's run out of the hourglass for him in New England. Sounds like, Coach, he's moving on. And it sounds like they're going to go with the rest of the year with Zappy and Hoyer or whoever else their other guy is. Zappy and somebody. Not Mac Jones. I mean, that would be ridiculous if all of a sudden Mac Jones was here next year. What do you think? What's the likelihood?
Well, I think the jury is still out on what the Niners will do until the season is over. I think that trying to kick the tires on Kirk Cousins was nuts, but here we are, right? Who knows what we're going to try to do if we're going to try to take a stab at Kirk later. What I would love the Niners to do is to just stand pat at quarterback, like the whole Brock Purdy, Trey Lance. That situation was contentious as hell. I don't have it in me to have another, Brock Purdy versus Mac Jones, Kirk Cousins versus Brock Purdy. Like I don't have it in me, man. Honestly, we got our guy by hook or crook. Whatever happened, but we got our guy, and Brock is good. Like, why would we try to go get Mac Jones when we just will basically be repurposing what we already have and more in Brock Purdy? It just doesn't make sense. Now, for some reason, we brought in Mac Jones to be like a true backup. Like, no quarterback competition, no Mac Jones could probably be the greatest thrower of the football since the last, like, none of that bullshit. Then yeah, but I don't even see that. I want us to stand pat with Brock. He's our guy. The locker room loves him, okay? And he knows how to run Kyle's system. That's yet another quarterback where Kyle's going to have culpable deniability because we're going to be able to say, well, Kyle's offense is the most quarterback-friendly offense ever created to man. And, if Mac Jones can't get it together, Brock Purdy won 15 games in a row with this offense. Why can't Mac Jones? I hear it already, man. Let's not do it.
Who's better between Mac Jones and Sam Darnold in your mind?
See, even that question is ridiculous. I don't know, Larry. They both suck.
Who would you rather have?
Trash. They're both trash. Like, come on, man. For the love of God. They're both trash. So all I'm saying is that's what I don't want to do, man. Brock is our guy. He's won enough games and done enough for the 49ers for us to hitch our wagon to him. Let's just stick with Brock.
I hear that. I will say this, though. One of the shocking developments when I'm looking at the mock drafts is where they have Michael Penix from Washington going. I watch Michael Penix and I see top 5, top 10 pick. My buddy Dave Softy Mahler, who covers the UW Huskies and the Seahawks up in the Pacific Northwest, says no way, no how. At best, he'll be a late first-round pick, which is where these mock drafts have him. Coach, have you seen Penix at all?
Yes, I have seen it.
To me, his arm strength is so crazy good that I cannot believe that he's not going top 10. I mean, he looks to me, and maybe I'm not seeing the genius of Drake May and Caleb, but to me, Penix looks like he's as good as them.
Penix is a dog. I mean,
I really like Penix.
Athletic, every throw, he can make every throw, change the platform of his throws. He's a good decision maker, takes care of the ball.
What do you think of the arm angle, though? Do you like, do you have, because this, like Dave was like, his arm angle's a little funky.
It's a little like RG3-ish, a little, right? Almost like there's a lever from the elbow.
But it's a hose. I mean,
it comes out weird as hell. Don't get it twisted. It does. It's a funky release.
It's a rocket.
Yeah, I mean, by the time, it looks like one of those medieval catapults. That's how his arm kind of like, how it comes out. But he's still doing. I mean, we felt I don't really trust the quarterback guys that are doing great in the league because Bryce Young was killing the league, and look where Bryce Young is right now, right? He's struggling, right? At one point this time last year, I mean, you had teams even talking about Arizona tanking for Caleb Williams. There's teams now tanking for Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams is looking mid to me over the past couple of months. You know what I'm saying? Like, not worth the billing at all. So
I agree.
So for me, I don't see it either. So for me, Penix, he's good for now. He's the flavor of the month. But college is fleeting, right? And even when you think by the time these NFL guys get their hands on him, the guy could be completely torn to shreds, especially in the quarterback position. Yeah. It's really not about how good you are. It's about fit. It's about going to the right situation with the right coach who's going to cultivate you the right way. And if you don't have that, I don't care how good you are.
It's all speculative when it comes to college. I mean, everything is not as it seems. All right, let's hit the supers here. We got a bunch of them in here. Brother Bob says, dink and dunk, LOL, okay to rip some players, not others. Oh, here we go. Brother Bob, coach is here. Here's $2 for having the ear to Purdy's pimp hog the mic.
Hog the mic. Yo, y'all are wild.
All right, Brother Bob. Keith Murphy. What do you make of Lamar being 18 of 19, or was it say 18, 19,
18, 19, one against the NFC?
Is it a familiarity thing? Why is Lamar own the NFC? For that reason, I'd say Baltimore is more scary. Yeah, I mean, he's been really good against the NFC. There's no question about it. I mean, that record is legit. I mean, I've seen those numbers as well. Lamar's just damn good.
He's getting better.
Yeah, I mean, he's
which is wild.
Except he lost Andrews, so that's going to hurt.
Big.
But I mean, he's a pocket passer, but he also has the mobility of the best mobile quarterbacks. But he also has open field running ability. It's not just 40 time. He knows how to cut. And he's not afraid, so he runs with confidence. So he makes them the best running team in the league, and the Niners are gonna have their hands full on Christmas night. I'll be there. That's gonna be a tough one for sure. Keith Murphy says Chris Johnson from ECU. Yep, CJ 2000 they called him. Gammon Brown in the house. We had Gammon on the call-in show the other night. He says Mac versus Sam equals the battle of
the mids. Come on, man. It's a mid-off.
Yeah.
It's a mid-off.
I will take Mac over Sam, though. I've never been a Sam guy.
But my thing is that I just hate having these conversations about like middling quarterbacks. It's just like, who do you think's better? Mac Jones or Bo Johnson Johansson. It's just like, who? Like, who cares, bro? Like, I feel like in the quarterback position, everybody gets their chance to show what they can do, right? And if you get 20 plus starts and you're still struggling, bro, the jig is up, bro. It's up. It's just what it is.
How many starts has Darnold had? 55?
55 starts. We know what he is. He's a backup quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw what he was this summer. There's enough inconsistency there I'm just not enamored with him. I never have been. Turn the ball over too much at SC on a great team, then turn the ball over a ton with the Jets on a bad team, looked a little bit better on a better team, and he'll look a little bit better on the Niners because they're a very good team. But at the end of the day, you're not winning with Sam. I just don't buy it. There's nothing you could say that would convince me otherwise. That's literally something I'd have to see to believe. Brother Bob says, serious question. Who's getting this super chat? I don't know. Probably the coach on that one. See, if it has a little thing up here on the side, then the coach, that's going to the coach.
Yeah, the link is to me, and the ones without the link are to Larry's channel.
We got this one from Brother Bob. Purdy's pimp making excuses already, but recall Brock Purdy is the best. Who believed in Brock Purdy, Brother Bob? Who believed in him? Brock Purdy, or Brother Bob says, let me say again, Niners 49, Buccaneers 13. 49-13.
49-13. Well, the spread is 12.
49-13.
It's ridiculous, but the spread is 12.
I don't like it. The spread is
12. 12 in the NFL is huge.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Pause. But it is.
Yeah, no, I know. I would rather take the Bucs and the points. Well, would you rather give the points or take the points in this game? I'd rather take the points. Really?
You want to take them?
Yeah, because I just don't. I think this could be one. You got Evans and Godwin in an offense that can. I mean, they don't. The numbers say they don't score, but they've got some weapons. Also, I saw them throw a couple screen passes to Rashad White. He took one to the house. The Niners aren't defending that well. Second of all, you also have this. The Seattle and the Eagles. They're looming. This could be a trap game. They got back last week. I don't know. I think this game's tighter. I like the Niners on the tees. I just don't like the Niners on the full spread.
Well, they do the line on 12, and they had the over-under at 49. So how in the world did they give us a spread at 12, but they still think it's still going to be under 50 points?
Yeah.
That's nuts. You know what I mean? So,
that worries me. If
the
over-under's right, I really like Tampa.
Okay.
I really like Tampa. And I to me, the way to bet that is tease it. And I think you could tease it in either direction. You could tease it up or you could tease it down. I think you'd cover both ways. Brother Bob says, let me say, says 49-13. We got that one. Smack Jones says, important question, fellas, for tomorrow's game. Should I go Buffalo
chicken dip, taco dip, or my favorite cream cheese and
sausage dip. Wait a second.
It's November.
I say buffalo chicken dip.
Buffalo chicken dip, dog.
Dude, do you like buffalo wings?
What? Come on, man. It's a pig's pussy pork. Stop playing with me. Let me some chicken wings.
Some people, but do you like them buffalo style? Do you like them do you like spicy wings?
Yeah.
I do too.
I like it with mambo sauce too. You guys do mambo sauce out there?
What's mambo sauce?
You all never heard of mambo sauce?
No, I've never.
It's like ketchup. It's like ketchup, hot sauce, and like A1 steak sauce mixed into one. It's like a local sauce out here.
Really?
It's called mambo sauce. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Mambo?
Yeah, mambo sauce.
Mambo sauce. Is it bottled?
Yeah, you can find. I'll probably get you some. I'll send you some.
Send me some mambo sauce. I think I might need to dabble in mambo sauce.
Yeah.
We got this one from Brother Bob. Love Iglet. Is that Grant?
Yeah.
Saying let me try it again. Why are you playing running back with 2 yards per carry over the guy averaging 5 yards per carry? But it's pretty obvious Kyle Shanahan doesn't
trust JP
Mason.
Use your brain.
Use your brain. Yeah, well, he doesn't want to be on record as saying he doesn't trust any player, but ultimately he's got a reason why he likes Mitchell. I mean, we know why he likes McCaffrey, right? But he likes Mitchell more than Mason. And at the end of the day, the only thing that sucked about that whole back and forth is we didn't find out why. He just stated it. Well, he's in front of him. Okay, and why? Why is he in front of him?
Yeah,
because we think he's better. Why do you think he's better? I mean, it's like that little kid who's like 4 who just goes, why? And eventually, it sounds like you're arguing, but you know what? It kind of is the correct follow up. You know, we prefer. Why are you not playing Mason? Because he's 3rd on the depth chart. Why is he 3rd on the depth chart? Because the other guys are better. Why are they better? You know, it's like, it needed an explanation, and Kyle just kind of hung to the depth chart. Brother Bob says Kyle dictates this entire offense and team. Duh. I know, but you say that, but I'm in the room and I see the power of Bobby T, and I see the way Bobby T speaks of things. He doesn't sound like a guy who's deferring to anybody. He sounds like the guy who's making the rules himself. So that's why I kind of question it. Look, I've been in organizations and I've seen a ton of them. The head coach is the czar of the football organization. He makes all the decisions.
All of the decisions.
And even if the decisions aren't made by him, they're signed off on by him. So essentially, it's the one and the same. I just mean that Bobby T strikes me as almost like a made man in Kyle's world, where almost like he's not like the other coaches. Like
I can agree with that.
He's kind of like a senior advisor.
He's a like a consigliere.
Like some guys have like a title OC, DC, but then there's some teams that have like assistant head coach. I think he's almost like assistant head coach level. Brother MF and Bob says, Coach, here's $2. Thanks for not yapping like Purdy's pimp. What does that say? What are those emojis? A snail? I don't know what that is. Sorry, Brother Bob. I don't do emoji. We got this one from Gammon. He says, I rock with the coach like it's first class.
Always.
There you go.
Always, bro.
Brother Bob says Purdy's pimp loves to hear himself talk as much as he loves Purdy.
Why you got y'all holding hands though at the end?
Unbelievable. Brother Bob, coverage like dunk and dunk are, oh my God.
Coverage is Kurt, y'all.
Brother Bob, dink and dunk, LOL, okay to rip some players, not others. Oh God, you might want to lose the dink and dunk at this point. Brother Bob, coach is here for. Okay, wait. Maybe I got.
Yeah, you're going the wrong way.
I got them all. Let me see. I got that one. I got that one. I got that one. Brother Bob, emptying the clip $2 at a time. Coverage
That's
is
how he gets you.
coverage.
He's giving you the new super chat algorithm.
This is new.
Mhm.
Smack Jones, coach must be from DC with the mumbo sauce.
Northeast, baby. Northeast DC, born in Sibley Hospital.
We got this one from Brother Bob. Coach, here's $2 for having to. Okay, we already did that one. Coach, here's $2. We did that one. Here we go. I like how Iggy said so snarky. Let me try again. There you go. Coach, what do you got cooking on the rest of your Saturday? It's a big day in college football. We get SC UCLA. We get the big game here in NorCal, which is Cal Stanford, which is always hard to watch, but I'll watch it. I've got Georgia. I went with Georgia, JMU. I bet JMU today. What do you think? If you ever go check out James Madison?
I love the Dukes, man. Come on, that's my neck of the woods. DMV.
Yeah, so I took James Madison -2, Georgia -2, and Iowa +4.5 on the teaser against Illinois. So we'll see.
Yeah, man. I got a real good guy from over there, Corin Acker. He had like the freshman running back record over there. Was with him,
man. Decent program.
I love the Dukes, man. It's a hell of a program. Yeah. So
College Game Day was there today.
Really?
Yes. College
Who
Game
are they
Day.
playing?
They're playing App State.
App State's a dog too. School. Okay, I want to see that. Is the game? They playing already?
I don't think so. Let's see. I think it might be an 11 o'clock start, West Coast. So I think it's starting in 5 minutes. But Coach, have a great Saturday. Let me do one more shout out to the crew. Oh, by the way, tomorrow. Oh, wait a second. Gammon Brown, dear Lord, Larry, get your son to read supers.
They want you to read those super chats when you send them up, Larry. They don't like waiting on them.
Brother Bob, I agree with Gammon. Purdy's pimp, get the best Krueger to read. That ain't right. That ain't right.
They killing you with your own kids.
that kid's so overrated. He's a system kid. I've been saying it forever. I mean, I could plug anybody in there.
All right, let me ask you a serious question.
I got a 14-year-old that's just as sharp. I got a 19-year-old that's just as deep voiced.
I know they're gonna love this. They're gonna love this in the chat. You got to answer me right away. All right. Okay. Brock Purdy is hanging off of a cliff.
Brock Purdy. Wait, what was the question?
You didn't even let me get off.
What was the question?
Brock Purdy's hanging off of a cliff, and Kev is tied to run away to some train tracks with a train coming. Who do you save? Do you go get Brock Purdy off the cliff, or do you save Kevin off the train tracks?
Did we land Penix in the draft? If we landed Penix, I'm going for Kev. But if we didn't land Penix, I can't trust the season to Darnold. So I'd say, Kev, wait it out. I gotta free up my man Purd. But if we get Penix, if we have Penix laying there, I'll say, wait a second. Kev, save Kev. Kev's coming home from college today.
Oh my God. Get ready for
it's unbelievable.
Feet.
Oh man.
And the whole nine.
My daughter came home from Atlanta from grad school at Emory this week. Kev's coming home for Thanksgiving from Cal Poly today. Mm-hmm. Coach, we used to get off for Thanksgiving like Wednesday, like the day before Thanksgiving. Now they give everybody the entire week. Which is pretty cool because, there's something when you have a college age kids and then they go away to school, you miss them. And then you want to, get that quality time. But, I'm not the kind of dad that's always going to call my kid at school and be like, how you doing? Let's talk. I know you're in the middle of a party, but, talk to your dad. I don't do a lot of, Kev and I do the live stream on Wednesday, so I'm talking to him. But for the most part, I don't get a chance to talk to him that much. So I'm fired up, and you may see some technical changes to the studio. We got a brand new sponsor coming aboard next week that we're really excited about, and things are going good. Coach, do us this. Promote your channel, man. You're on here. Obviously, people know who you are at this point. We're doing this on the regular on Saturdays. By the way, I did invite Vish to join us today. He couldn't join us. We were supposed to go Thursday night, me, Vish, and Jesse, but Vish had some issue with work, and then I had a New York style sausage party, which sounds terrible.
What are you doing, Larry?
Yeah, seriously. So we didn't do the show. But I did invite Vish today, but he said he had his doctor's and dentist appointment today. So he couldn't make today, but we'll get Vish back on next week. And people are like, "Are you and Vish feuding?" I mean, Vish could be feuding with me, but I'm not feuding with Vish.
No, nobody's feuding.
Know,
we're not doing that. No. We're all good.
Yeah.
We're
I'm
good.
not. I love Vish. Anyway, but what do you got cooking on Thanksgiving? What is your where do you go? What do you eat?
We do like the whole family like layout, right? Smoked turkey, fried turkey, baked turkey, Cajun turkey.
Fried turkey sounds oily.
Deep fried turkey.
Deep fried turkey. And you see these nightmare videos on YouTube of people just exploding their house and that kind of thing. And you got to do it gradually, and you can't put it in there frozen. But if I had a deep fried turkey at my in-laws' place a couple years ago, it was
fire,
unbelievably great. Now, why is it so great? Because when you cook it in the vat of oil, it gets immersed through the cavity of the bird. So you don't put stuffing in there, obviously, because it's oil, right? So, but then you know how like turkey, like on the outside will be sometimes dry, but on the inside it's still really kind of pink. If you deep fry it, it cooks the inside on the bone the exact same way it cooks the outside. So the entire thing is perfect.
I
mean, it's just
we've been doing
fried turkey is
for
amazing.
Forever. Yeah. So have you ever had capon?
Yeah. Which is kind of like a big chicken, right?
It's a castrated turkey, basically. Yeah. So it's like imagine a turkey with all dark meat. Even the breast is like tender dark meat. So usually we go all out for Thanksgiving, right? But this year we're kind of switching it over and we're taking it to like the restaurant style this year. So we're all doing like the big restaurant, the big family, all going to go out. So I'm excited.
You're going to a restaurant?
Yeah. So we're going to go to a restaurant this year, but
you don't want too much work, man.
I know.
Thanksgiving
is
work for somebody, right?
That like my sister called me. I think my sister called me like 2 weeks ago to like get up plans. And she goes, yeah. And I'm thinking like she's going to give me like ingredients and stuff. And she's like, yeah, so we're switching it up this week. And I was like, she's like, we're switching it up this year. And I was like, where are we going? Where are we going? And you got, they have my mom, my sister, the women of my family, they have done so much work to make like the holidays happen for us. So they're like the matriarchs, man. Like if we had to do it, Larry, dude, it'd be McDonald's, bro. We'd be horrible.
I mean, the people who do Thanksgiving right, they put enough effort into every side dish. Like it's almost like the main dish. So, I mean, like, I'll tell you, and it's regional too. Now, I'm not a mac and cheese guy, but for some people, they love mac and cheese on Thanksgiving. Okay?
Me neither. I don't like mac and cheese either.
I don't like mac and chease. So
it's sacrilege from my side of things, but I don't like it.
I love stuffing. And I love mashed potatoes. The stuffing with like some cranberries. I put New York style Italian sausage in my stuffing. So the stuffing's amazing. I'll tell you what's amazing too is if I'll go down to the butcher shop, I'll get a turkey, and I'll have them butterfly the breast. So it's like, spread out. And then I'll get the make tons of stuffing and put it inside the bird and then tie it together with string. So it's like a gigantic no bones turkey.
Like a chub. Yeah.
Yeah, but with stuffing inside. And then you let it cool and you slice it down the middle and you get the stuffing and the turkey. I mean,
but like we're out here in Maryland. So my dad does this. He does it every year, not this year. But my dad he gets a rockfish. And rockfish are big ass fish, bro.
Right.
And he gets a rockfish and he makes like this seafood stuffing with like shrimp and
Sounds so good.
scallops and like, dude,
Like a
and crab
cioppino type?
meat
Ooh, that sounds good.
and like lobster meat. And he makes like this crab stuffing and he cooks it inside of the rockfish. And dude, when that thing comes out, oh, it's a showstopper.
Is it where
It's
do
a
you
showstopper.
you put it in the smoker or do you cook
You
it
can
in
cook
the oven?
it in the oven. You can cook
Oh,
rockfish in
wow.
the oven. Yeah, you can
Ooh.
just bake it. Rockfish is my favorite fish to eat. It is really good.
And then what kind of sauce you put on it?
Nothing, man. You let the juice, the pot liquor from the rockfish in the stuffing is enough with some lemons
Okay.
on top.
Okay. How about my mom used to do, God, she's no longer with us, but she used to do sweet potatoes and baked potatoes, but she do sweet potatoes with marshmallows on the top.
See,
Like
we do
honey
the candy
yams, kind of
yams.
almost like a candied yams type thing.
My
Was
mom
so
used to do
sweet.
the sweet potato souffle with the brulee on top. So you have to crack it with the spoon, but
Ooh,
it's like a sweet potato souffle under. Whoo! I gotta call my mom. I don't know if we going to the restaurant this year. Like that thing is
seriously.
fire. Yes.
I wouldn't eat like the Tuesday or the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I'd just show up just starving. And we're in an Italian family. So then we would have all the like salami and French bread and olives and
The charcuterie.
artichokes and all that stuff sitting around. And you're nibbling on that in the afternoon. And then oh my God.
Yeah. Oh,
Just
dude, we can
get
go all
into
day,
that
man.
tryptophan coma.
Yeah.
Where you
Oh,
just
tryptophan.
oh man. I'll tell you
The best.
one of the very first nights I did radio, I told
Uh-huh.
this guy, I want to do radio. The guy's like, hey, you don't have any experience. I said, well, how do I get experience? He's like, you can fill in when it's maybe the holidays or something like that. I'm like, okay, fine. So the guy calls me on the day before Thanksgiving. He's like, hey, can you fill in on Thanksgiving? And I said, yeah, of course I can. So it was 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. was the show. So have this whole dinner at my mom's house, and it's just turkey and red wine, all these things that make you sleepy. And so this is like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then I'm hanging out, but I'm not working till 10 o'clock at night. So my mom says, oh, I made you some hot turkey sandwiches and wrapped them up
Some
so you can
cranberry,
eat during
dog.
the show. Right.
Woo.
So now I've got like 5 or 6 hot turkey sandwiches with the gravy all wrapped up in foil. And so I start munching these things in the first hour of the show. By the 5th hour of the show, I'm like,
toe up.
Let's go to Bob in Cleveland. Bob, how are you?
Pump full of turkey sandwiches.
I mean, I was like in a freaking coma. I was so sleepy, and I'm like, why am I so sleepy? And I didn't realize that turkey.
That tryptophan got you.
The tryptophan set in hour 5, and I was cooked.
Hey, man,
a couple
those are
more.
all good times. You got Niners football on Thanksgiving too.
I know. Would you Niners go this year on Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's Eve?
And New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve day, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was kind of bummed about. I'm really bummed about Christmas night because that's going to be a tough game, by the way. 2 more here before we get out of here. Gammon says, talk about Kev like that.
that's nursing
home talk. Seriously, Gammon called in the other night. Brother Bob says, Gammon, no, that's not that's do not resuscitate talk. Oh, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Anyway, hey, that's going to do it for us. Good luck to my bets today. Good luck to the coach today. Coach, happy Thanksgiving, because I won't talk to you until next Saturday.
Hey, man, happy Thanksgiving to you.
Have a great one, man. It's it's been a joy to have you on the regular on these Saturdays. They're some of my favorite streams. We agree, we disagree, but it's always great stuff. The audience loves it. It's always one of the more trafficked shows that I do during the week. And you're a star, bro. You're a star, man. Just keep it rolling.
Larry.
And if there's anything I can do for your channel, bang _49 on YouTube.
Yeah, man. Hey,
everybody hit
Larry,
like and subscribe over there and help.
Larry,
Coach
you
build
supported
it
me
up.
from the very beginning, man. The very first conversation we had, we talked about ball and we talked about family. That's the first two things we talked about. You know what I'm saying? So, man, we've always been on the same page. And like you said, man, we've grown together. We've rubbed up against each other and disagreed, but it's all made out for a great show and a great experience. And to be honest, it's for the fans. It's for the supporters. And I'm privileged that they support us, man, honestly.
Well, you know what it is that, when you're genuine and real and passionate and somewhat knowledgeable, and I say you're more knowledgeable than me. I'll throw myself as somewhat knowledgeable, but when you're passionate and you're organic and we're real and we're not pulling punches, this is real, right? I mean,
yeah,
believe
and they
it or
hold
not,
you to task. They hold you to task.
This beautiful face did not get made in a day. I mean, this is all organic. I mean, I imagine this is me trying to get ready to be in front of the camera. Imagine what this face looks like when it's not in front of the camera.
You got a face made for radio, Larry.
Exactly. Hey, have a great one, everybody. Peace. Thanks to New York Style Sausage. Thanks to Marin Auto Glass, Underdog Fantasy, Mojo Fantasy, Pig and a Pickle. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Coach, see you next Saturday.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.